Good evening, everyone. Today I'm just going to quickly do a very short rundown on common Lisp functions. I'm going to not talk about things like combining different keys or allow other keys, because I don't really understand how that works yet. So I will just quickly run through a few things about functions, right? So initially we would just do like define. We have the name, we have print x. Right, this is basically the start, and then you give it arguments. So in this case, we have x, and then we will do print x, and then we call it with print x, and we'll do ABC. It's printing, and print x is a symbol. So in Common Lisp, there's two namespaces, one for variables and one for functions, right? That's generally it. So unlike in Scheme where they share the namespace. So if we were to do bound p print x, it's nil. But if we do f bound p, it's true, right? So it's not a bound variable, as in, that's because we can do set f print x, and then we do print x. See, the symbol print x is in as a variable in a separate namespace, but we can still do with, and it will print it, right? So there's two namespaces, and a bound p shows you the variable, whether it's bound as a variable, and f bound p tells you whether it's bound as a function, right? Whether the symbol's got a function associated with it. So that's one thing we can do. That's the basic, most primitive way you would define a function. There's also, if we get rid of this, there's also a documentation string. So you just do ABC, prints the value of x, and then you can use some functions to get the documentation from it. I can't remember what those are. I think it's documentation, and then you do print x, and then it's like a function or something. Can't say I actually remember. Yeah, there you go. Print x function, right? Okay, so but we can do other things, right? So we can have in here an optional value. So you give it the optional key, and then we're gonna say func, right? So we have the optional variable called func, and in this case it's going to literally be a function, and the function is going to be print. So we are then going to do func call func with the argument x, and now if we do print x abc, it's printing it by default. If you look down at the bottom with print, but we can change this to print c. Right, that's one thing we can do. We can also do, instead of having optional, we can do keys. So we can change it to key, and now instead of having it as just a value you pass in, you do that, right? So you type func, and that's that. And you can have loads of different ones. There's also rest. So if we do rest, and we'll just put args, close that, and we will not func call anymore. We'll just do print. Oh well, first, hello, I messed up. First we will ignore x, and then we will print args, and then do print x1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is an arbitrary length. I think the max length is something like 54. It might be depend on the distribution, but it's quite a lot, so you shouldn't really rely on it. If you're going to send a large list, you should just have a separate argument that's the large list, right? And as you can see here, it's not printed the first value because we ignored it, and it's just printed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a separate list, because args gets compiled and becomes a list and is passed as a list, right? We can also, if we get rid of args, we'll just, doesn't matter about that, we'll just have x. And instead of printing the value of x, we will return a lambda that prints the value of x, right? So we do lambda print x. That, I mean, ooh. And then we can do print x ABC, and then we can fun call that lambda, which isn't going to work because I believe I have to pass it a value. Okay, yeah, well I did that wrong, so we will do that again. Now we will, yes, I did it wrong, so we will just fun call this print x with the value a, b, c, d. That wasn't actually what I wanted to do, but as you can see, it worked. Funcal works with the symbol for print x, but now it's actually just returned the function I wanted to actually fun call. So that might be a little confusing, but I hope you see what was actually supposed to happen there. Basically, print x, it returned the symbol print x because I compiled the function, and then I fun called that symbol with the argument a, b, c, d. Anyway, so you can just return lambdas, right? So this is a bit confusing because of the way scope works. This x is actually being overridden, but that doesn't matter. You can also say defun print x, and we'll do lambda. Let's just get rid of this. Returns a lambda. We'll put x in here, and we can also have. You can also put key, and then you can do other stuff like func print, and then func call func x. Right. So now if we do print x again, print x, which doesn't take any arguments anymore, and then func call the above with so what did we give it? We gave it x, so we'll do ABC, and that will call it, and if we go back and we'll change it to print C. Oh, odd number of key arguments. Oops, let's just copy this in here. That was just a mistake. I was supposed to do func. The ABC is not of type function, symbol, and binding function. Silly mistakes, but you get the gist of it, right? It's pretty simple. You can like give these functions, see this anonymous function here, we could give it a variable name like setf print x or something to that, and now you have print, now the value of print x is set to this, and then you can just fun call. You know, you sort of get the picture. I mean, there's a few other things that I said I wasn't going to cover, like the key allow other keys, which is used to when you have apply within a within another call. I do actually have an example of code here, right? So you see allow other keys is used here, allow other keys. So because well, I said I wasn't going to cover it, and here I am covering it. But make array takes the arguments like initial element, initial contents, adjustable fill pointer. Using allow other keys here, we can pass other keyword arguments to make array, basically, and that's what it's for. You can also combine optional and rest and key and rest, but you shouldn't really combine optional and key. You might not even be allowed to, but it's bad practice. So yeah, I think that about sums that up. Obviously, you could do, this is quite a trivial few examples, but that's really all you need to know. You can obviously send in an arbitrary length of different arguments and whatnot, but that all is up to you what you want to do anyway. So I'll catch you guys later. So cheers.